Now, before I actually get started with the training that I want to teach you guys this evening, I want to give you a little bit of background information. The Warrior event I just finished attending over this past weekend. It is a typically 2-day long event, at least the official parts of it, but people typically go to these things sometimes a day or two ahead of time and even stay a day or two afterwards simply to hang out with people, to get to know one another. And I've been going to the Warrior event since either 2012 or 2013 was the first year that I've attended. I found this to be really useful to my marketing business in a wide variety of different ways. And it's so much so that I have kept going back to these things and have even expanded outward to go to different types of conferences and networking events that have to do with what I do online for a living. The Warrior event, though, was actually the very first one that I ever went to, and so it's always kind of held a special place in my heart. Now, it's not as big as a lot of conferences out there are. You have some conferences and networking events where you have 500 or even thousands of people. Some of them even have 10,000 or more people that attend them. I've been to one that's pretty big, and I've also been to a number of smaller ones. And personally, I kind of like the smaller ones better. It's more of a homey feel. You have a better chance of getting to know the people that you want to get to know. And if you know people that are there already, it's a lot easier to find them. The one time that I went to a huge conference, I knew about a dozen people there, and I only ran into like 3 or 4 of them the entire weekend. So it's just simply a matter of going there and learning what other people have to share with you. For those of you that have never been to any kind of an event like this, I would at least encourage you to consider it in the future. It is very well worth your time to not just soak up the knowledge that people have to offer, but also to get to meet people. A lot of partnerships and business deals go down at these events, and people that don't attend them are really not included in a lot of those private circles of friends that are out there in the internet world. So what I have found from going to these events is that I not only get to meet a lot of great people, I get to start and even continue a lot of these relationships that I have been building in the marketing community. I get to learn a lot of great stuff from the people that are speaking at these events and also just from the people that I'm interacting with. A lot of times people will share some really awesome information when they're just talking privately with you over dinner or at a bar or something like that. Things that they would normally charge people possibly thousands of dollars to give that same information to them as advice. With all of that going on and just being surrounded by all of that stuff for an entire weekend or even longer, it really helps to get you motivated and inspired in your marketing career. A lot of marketing involves you sitting at home by yourself at your desk doing work on your computer. It's a very solitary life. So getting out there and doing these events can really help to give you a boost of energy that I feel like is pretty necessary when you're doing something like this full time like I do. So I go to these things for all of these different reasons. And that's why I wanted to create this special training class for you guys tonight to try to help send along some of that value, some of that inspiration to you that I am able to pick up from these events. That's also why I'm going to be talking to you tonight about things that might not have anything to do with what you are already doing online. If you are solely focused on being an Amazon affiliate, for example, there were not any speakers at this event that were talking about Amazon affiliate websites. But every online business really has these core elements that relate to everything. Getting traffic, getting people to believe in you or your brand, getting people to trust you to buy from you. All of these things are essentially these common concepts among all different marketing styles, no matter what kind of online business you're really involved in. And so if you pay attention closely to what people share with you, you can take bits and pieces of their strategies and apply them to what you do and have some really amazing results. Now, I didn't share this type of information in my sales information for this training class because I don't like discussing income claims a lot of times to sell something because it might not be realistic, but I've taken single ideas, just a simple 2-minute conversation in the hallway at one of these events and come back home and within a week turned it into $20,000 worth of sales. So the person that I was talking to, they had nothing to do with the kind of marketing that I do, but I took an idea that was working in their business and styled it to work for what it is that I'm trying to do. So think about that kind of stuff as I am going through talking to you tonight, teaching you all of these different strategies. If it's not something that you are personally interested in doing, try to think about how could you still leverage the power of this type of thing to apply it to your own business. And then I'm also going to be giving you some more specific advice for Amazon affiliates on how they can apply the various things that I'll be talking to you about tonight. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and dive in here. What I'm going to be doing this evening is talking to you about specific people that were a part of this Warrior event. The reason why is because it's good for you to understand who these people are and what they do. It says a lot about the strategy that they teach, because ultimately this strategy is something that is geared towards their actual business. So by understanding that, you can see how these types of things help them advance their career. And then in turn, you might be able to better pick out the relevant pieces for whatever it is that you want to be succeeding at online. So the first person I want to talk to you about is a guy named Clint Arthur. As you can see from all of these pictures over on the left here, this guy has met a lot of really famous people. He's here with Donald Trump, Simon Cowell, former President George H.W. Bush, Snoop Dogg. And down here in the corner, he is on the set of a television show that is or a news show that is created by CNN. So he's actually at CNN headquarters here. This is really what Clint is all about. Clint teaches other people how to get on television. And ultimately, by getting on television, he is able to propel himself in the business world. Whatever it is that he is trying to do, he can make TV appearances, do speaking appearances related to that field, and this automatically gives him a sense of authority, a sense of celebrity. You know, If you see a picture of somebody with somebody that's really, really important, somebody super famous, maybe even somebody super rich perhaps, you figure there has to be something special about this guy just to even be in these positions, to meet these people. Because I don't know about you guys, but I've never personally seen anybody that is in any of these pictures minus this Clint Arthur guy. So with that in mind, Clint teaching you how to get on TV, this may not necessarily be something that you have any interest in doing. Personally, I don't know if I would ever want to be on TV, but the stuff that Clint is teaching, when you boil it down to the basic concept, it's really about positioning yourself as an authority in whatever industry it is that you are in. And this can be done by both the actual appearances from getting that extra exposure from whoever sees these appearances, but also you can create what is known as a celebrity sizzle reel afterwards, where you can take little video clips of you meeting all of these famous people or being introduced on all of these different TV networks or different shows, whatever it is that you happen to be appearing on. This is really important for people that are in internet marketing these days because if you truly think about it, there's a lot of people online. There are a lot of people that are trying to put information out there online, trying to convince you to follow them, to buy something from them, whatever the case may be. And ultimately, the people that do position themselves above their competition and set themselves out to be kind of an authority status for their field, those people do get a lot more attention in the long run. Now, ultimately, how you can raise yourself above your competition to gain this authority is by really giving yourself what's known as status. Status is where it's really about who you are. You know, Donald Trump has status. Whether you like him or not, you probably know who he is. Something different than that, merit, that's really about what you do, you know, your substance, your quality. That stuff is important. Don't get me wrong, but what Clint is really all about is putting more of a focus on your status, or at least to the point where, you know, if people don't know who you are, it doesn't matter how great you are. Any famous person in pretty much any field, there might be somebody sitting at home that's 10 times better than they are. But if nobody knows that person, then it doesn't really matter. So you not only need to be really good at what you do, but then you also need to simply let people know you. You need to get your name out there. Now, there are a lot of different ways that you can go about doing this, and they do not all involve appearing on TV. That's something that's really important to understand. I mentioned before that I personally would probably never want to appear on TV. It's just not my thing. I'm not looking to be some kind of worldwide celebrity or anything like that. I have particular things that I do in my business, and those are really the only things that I care about being known for. And the TV audience is really just not my typical audience that I'm trying to go for. But that doesn't mean that I can't take advantage of something like this. There are things like being speakers at various types of events. The marketers that go to these networking conferences and speak at these things, they have instant authority. You have people like me sitting around doing training classes about them, giving them even more exposure beyond what they already received at the conference. You have people talking about them on social media. This same type of thing can be done on pretty much any scale. No matter where you are in your marketing business, there's likely some way that you could utilize this. It does not have to be at a live networking conference. For example, you could start by going out there and trying to find a podcast that has something to do with your industry. These people are constantly looking for things that they can talk about, for people that they can interview, most especially. So you can simply approach these people, tell them a little about yourself, tell them something about your knowledge or, the type of things that you could talk about with them. And when you go out and just simply approach a certain number of people in a position like that, you'll get some that will want to have you on their show. So then you simply take the recordings from that and you can actually create something like a celebrity sizzle reel, even out of something like a podcast. You show a picture of yourself, you show a picture of the person that runs the podcast, you use the name of the podcast that you are on, and you play little audio snippets from when these people are introducing you. Chances are when they're introducing you, they're going to be saying some good stuff about you. Nobody introduces somebody on a show and says horrible things about them typically. A lot of times they will say things that you can write yourself. You give them a little biography about you. They introduce you on the show. They tell a couple of quick things about you. And those are things that you essentially told them to say, but you could use it on this celebrity sizzle reel as these people essentially endorsing you because they're saying these things and not you. The same type of thing can really go for other types of media, even something like a book. Typically, the people that are best-selling authors in certain fields are respected as some kind of an authority or an expert or a celebrity in that industry. So by simply striving to become well-known among people that are relevant to what it is that you are wanting to do as a marketer, you will raise your status. People will start to seek you out. It becomes a lot easier to drive business that way, to drive more sales that way, to build trust that way. This is actually something that's a common theme that you see people talking about at these marketing conferences, and there's a good reason for it, because this type of stuff has driven their careers to new levels. This is typically how people start getting into making millions of dollars, seven-figure incomes, even eight-figure and above incomes. There are a lot of people like that that come and talk at these conferences and share their secrets with you. Now, for somebody like an Amazon affiliate, you might be thinking to yourself, what does this have to do with me? How in the world could I ever utilize something like this? How would it even help, say, an Amazon affiliate website that I run? Now, obviously, if you are going to take a strategy, being an Amazon affiliate, of building a large number of small websites and all the websites target a whole bunch of different topics, it might be kind of hard to make yourself known for any one given topic. But even someone in that situation can likely single out a website or two that they are doing the best with. And they might decide, okay, I'm going to make myself known for whatever industry it is that that site is trying to target. And then you go out there and start trying to share your knowledge on that industry in as many different ways as you possibly can, as many different forms of media. Try to get as many different appearances as you can. This, again, could be as simple as going out there and finding a podcast that you could be interviewed on. It really doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to leave your house. You don't even have to appear on camera to do a lot of this stuff and still be able to gain importance. Then when somebody was to search your name, especially having to do with a certain industry, they're going to see results in the future of these different appearances that you've made, and it instantly gives you some credibility and authority. And people say, okay, maybe I should pay attention to what this guy is saying. Maybe I should try to follow him on social media or something like that. And maybe I should buy the stuff that he is recommending for me to buy because he obviously knows what he's doing. So that's really what it's about by making yourself known. You can publish books, as I mentioned to you before, for any industry that you might be targeting having to do with Amazon. You can write books about those subjects, simple ebooks that you would then go and publish on Amazon Kindle. Those ebooks can then promote your website in return. The same thing with all of these appearances that you could possibly seek out. If you can get hosted by a podcast to do an interview on you, they're going to ask you different questions that relate to the industry, but you've probably heard stuff like this yourself before. At some point during that person appearing on whatever show they are appearing on, they're given a chance to kind of self-promote themselves, to say, you know, what they're currently doing, what they're involved in. Sometimes people write a book and then they go on all these different TV shows and podcasts and things like that to promote their book. So the same type of thing can be done for an Amazon affiliate website. The only difference, though, is that you would obviously need to have a website that is really high quality. You need to have some great in-depth content on subjects that matter to that industry. You can't just really have one of these automated Amazon stores that just looks like an e-commerce site. So if you are approaching Amazon in that way, which is the type of manner that I have constantly taught people to build their Amazon sites, then you take the best of what you have out there, the one that's making the most money, the one that's bringing in the most traffic for you, and you build upon it. You put as much great content on there as you can manage. You start publishing books that have to do with your industry that self-promote your website. You can even then go out and promote those books on different types of media, such as, you know, appearing on TV or even appearing in a simple podcast interview. Now, I mentioned that there was more than just one person at this conference that was really speaking about this kind of stuff. There actually was another person, a lady, that was solely focused on running her own shows and also being hosted on other shows simply for interviews, which is something that I did briefly mention here that Clint was also talking about. She actually got herself broadcast on live TV, getting a show for herself where she would just interview people relating to her industry. So the same kind of thing could really apply for an Amazon affiliate that's targeting an industry, trying to make themselves known in that industry. You could even host your own podcast or show. And it doesn't even have to be on live TV like, you know, this lady was doing. You can actually do this kind of stuff online. There's all different kinds of places that you can essentially broadcast yourself or conduct these interviews and just to give you a couple of examples of places that she recommended to go to do these things or to help self-promote yourself, places like Free Speech TV, Roku, Real.me, Twitter, Instagram, Amazon, Apple, Footprint TV, and Glass Media. So a lot of people really focus on this type of stuff in one way or another, and this is another theme that you're going to kind of see throughout at least some of the speakers that I will be talking about as I proceed forward here. Now, just to give you a bit of an example, I haven't been attending these conferences but for a couple of years. And actually, none of these pictures here are from the current year. I actually don't have all of the pictures yet that were taken at the event that just ended. But you don't have to actually be a celebrity yourself to go out there and put yourself in some of these situations that could allow you to meet celebrities, could allow you to mingle with other people that might already be famous in whatever field it is that you are trying to pursue. Now, for those of you that don't know, these top two pictures here are with stars from the MasterChef TV show. Now, I'm not personally trying to pursue anything with cooking. This is really more of a hobby of mine that I enjoy, and also a show that my wife and I have watched over the years. The point, though, is all of these famous people that I got to meet, it wasn't by chance. It wasn't necessarily because I personally know these people and hang out with these people on a regular basis. It's just because I put myself in a situation to be around them. The easiest way to accomplish something like this, no matter what field you're in, is to attend different types of events and conferences where these people will be. And they're more than happy to take pictures with you. So for example, we attended a MasterChef cruise. We got to meet winners from a number of the seasons, and even Graham Elliott, one of the hosts, or at least former hosts now, of the MasterChef TV show. That obviously was not a random meet or occurrence. We certainly paid to be at that event. The rest of these were all from marketing conferences. This is me and my little brother up here in the top right hand corner. And in case you don't know who this guy is, this is Vanilla Ice. Again, not a random occurrence. We did get to attend a private conference of his, but this was, again, at one of these marketing conferences, and then we were given the opportunity for essentially like a private meet and greet and taking pictures. The rest of these people are other marketers. This guy here is actually the person that hosts, or kind of the main person that hosts, the Warrior event itself. Some of these other people, Joshua Zamora, some of you may be familiar with who that is. He creates a lot of really great marketing products. Nick Lapola, he is the creator of Simple Video Pro, the highest grossing launch ever on the Warrior Plus affiliate network. Just simply appearing at some of these events can give you these really easy photo opportunities and these really private situations with some of the most respected minds in your field by just putting yourself possibly outside of your comfort zone a little bit and going and attending some of these things yourself and meeting whoever happens to be there. So now the next guy I want to talk about is E. Brian Rose. Most of you probably know who this guy is. He is the founder, or at least one of the co-founders, of JVZoo. I really like this particular picture of him because it kind of says a lot about who he is. He's a little on the cocky side, and he kind of has a right to be. He's done amazing things with his own marketing career. I'm sure he's filthy rich, and pretty much everybody knows who he is. This is really the type of stuff that he talks about at these events because, again, he's trying to share the stuff that he knows about, the things that he is good at doing. One of the biggest things that he recommends is to simply do what makes you happy. However, it's important to understand that you not only need to do what makes you happy, but you also need to be able to make money with it. If you can find something that you both love and you can get paid to do, then it's really the perfect situation for a career for yourself. Why not do something that you love that you can also get paid for? So when it comes to internet marketing, if whatever it is that you're pursuing, if it feels like too much of a job, if you wake up every day and you dread doing work on it, ask yourself if it's really right for you or not. Could you be doing something else, still related, still online, still having to do with internet marketing, but something different possibly from what you're already doing? No matter what you love, you could do it online. Even if it has nothing to do with marketing, you can still create a website about it. Any kind of hobby essentially that is out there, the things that most people are going to love, you can become known for that kind of stuff. You can create a business that is centered around it. So this is really the key of at least the beginning of what E. Brian Rose, also known as EBR, was talking to people about. He loves what he does. He doesn't feel like it's really a job. And a lot of people can relate to stuff like that because there are a lot of high-paying jobs out there that people work at and they absolutely hate them. The money doesn't make you happy. You have to do something that you enjoy to make you happy. And that helps to keep you interested in it enough to really want to pursue it. So when it comes to actually pursuing something as an internet marketer, it's really all about getting some kind of a following. No matter what you do online, if you had a group of people online that followed what you did and loved the stuff that you put out there, it simply would make it a lot easier to do better, to get more traffic, to make more money. This is something that I actually see ignored by a lot of Amazon affiliates and even a lot of affiliate marketers in general. They're solely focused on the sale. You know, there's only so many times that you can just say buy to somebody and really not give them anything special or a value in return for that. You know, if you're just constantly pushing an Amazon website that is filled with nothing but product pages that are just trying to sell those products, you know, people don't really have a reason to want to follow a website like that. Now, there are really three key elements to getting a following, to getting people to want to know what you have to say and to ultimately care about it. And those three things were really the basis for most of EBR's talk. The first of these things is know. You need to get your audience to know you. This a lot of times involves getting to know you on a more personal level. You know, who are you? What are you about? What knowledge do you have? You know, it doesn't have to be sharing every single tiny detail of your life, but you at least want to give people a peek into your life to help them to understand that you are indeed a real person. The next thing is like. You need people to actually like you. Ultimately, the easiest way to do this is to simply help people that need help. It's best if you can do this in some kind of a public setting. Like, for example, if you're in a Facebook group or on a internet forum or on your own website even, or maybe even doing a podcast. You're helping people when you are giving them good information, but you're doing it in a public setting to where you might be helping more than just the one person that that information is directed at. On a Facebook group, somebody might ask a question, you respond to that question and help them out with it. You're helping that one person, but other people get to observe it. That's the public setting that I was referring to. So whenever you're doing it in a public setting like that, it's the best because not only are you just helping that one person, but you're helping everyone else that might not be asking the question, but is still curious about the answer. That in turn helps people to like you. When you can help them out when they're in need of help, that simply gets people to like you. Now, here's something that's really important. This is actually a big key focus of what EBR was also talking about, and that is you don't need everybody to like you. In fact, you're pretty much guaranteed if you get successful in any way, form, or fashion, you're going to have people that do not like you. And that is quite okay. However, that seems to be something that a lot of people just can't find their way past. They figure out, oh, this person hates what I'm doing. They sent me a nasty email about it, I'm not helping this person at all. And they get discouraged and they give up. Ultimately, that kind of stuff is going to happen if you are actually doing the opposite that you're trying to achieve, which is helping people. Typically, the people that are liked by others have somebody that doesn't like them too. Even the most extreme situations, you can see this type of stuff taking place. Donald Trump, again, as an example, most people either love him or they absolutely loathe the guy. He is quite okay with that because there are enough people that love him to make a difference. There's enough people that love him to put enough money in his pocket, and there may possibly even be enough to elect him as the next president. EBR is a guy that's a lot like that. There are a lot of people out there that don't like him. He's a little rough around the edges because he's, a little full of himself, but he knows what he's talking about on another hand. So some people don't like the way that, he rubs off on them and they hate him. And then other people love him, quite possibly because he's helped them in a lot of different ways. Being the co-founder of JVZoo, he has certainly helped a lot of people get rich. That's certainly for sure. So no matter what kind of industry you might be in, these same kind of tactics can really be used. You can let people into your personal life to get to know you a little bit, to get to know about, what drives you. Why do you do the things that you do? Why are you in this industry? Why are you trying to help people? What are your experiences and knowledge? Why should people listen to you? And then you can also be helping people in pretty much any industry. So that covers the first of these two things, know and like. Getting down to the third thing is trust. Trust, in a lot of ways, might be kind of similar. You might trust people that you know and like, but it's really different elements in a lot of cases that cause you to end up trusting somebody. One of the easiest ways that marketers have found, though, to get other people to trust them is with testimonials from customers of theirs, or simply from fans or followers of theirs. This could be in a written form, or it could be something like a video or an audio recording. Those testimonials sometimes might be solicited. You might reach out and ask your people, what do you think? And other times you might just pick up these testimonials simply from what people say. I mentioned when I was talking about Clint Arthur before that sometimes when you're appearing on a show or getting interviewed by somebody or maybe speaking at an event, you might get introduced by somebody to the audience. Anything that they say, you could essentially quote them for saying. And those types of things can be used as testimonials. This is something that EBR has actually done. He's had people that have introduced him at a marketing conference before and just said something good about him in that introduction, and he'll take this thing and he'll put it on a sales page somewhere quoting the guy who said it, and he's usually somebody that's really well known in the field. The same type of thing that I was showing you before, also with simply associating yourself with people that are well known in the industry, can also help to give you that trust. Somebody that is being shown as being around or connected to these other well-known people in your industry, they're automatically kind of given that same level of trust. Oh, well, if he knows him, then there's got to be something special about him. I should pay attention. I also mentioned before that one of the easiest ways that you can associate yourself with these well-known individuals in pretty much any field is by finding some kind of event to attend. So you can pay to get this celebrity association. You attend these events related to your industry, you get pictures with well-known people or even celebrities in that field, and then that media gives you instant association with all of these people. You can share it on social media, you can put these pictures on your website, and it builds a level of trust with your audience and ultimately with your customers. Now finally, one single thing that can actually accomplish all three of those is free content. When you put free content out there, really helpful, useful stuff that is targeted to your audience and helps them, with a particular topic, it helps people to get to know you a lot of times because you can share stories about yourself within that free content. You can help them out by giving them advice and tips. And that same stuff also helps to build trust. When you're helping people out that need help, you do build a level of trust with them. So you might be wondering, why would a guy that has essentially made millions of dollars from selling stuff, why would he be really focused on doing what makes you happy and even on putting free content? Free content was a really big emphasis of his. You can take pretty much anything that you do and break it apart into all sorts of different pieces and give it away for free content. You can publish this free content in all different types of places to help get you more exposure. And again, it helps to build all these different elements. So that's really what it boils down to, is that the free content helps to build the know, like, and the trust. And these elements help to build your sales. And again, this is something that can apply to pretty much any marketing industry that is out there. So no matter what you are doing online, you need people to be following you, and you need them to know you, like you, and to trust you to simply get the best results and to get the most people to actually want to follow you. Now for Amazon affiliates, this still holds relevance because a lot of people, again, will create a lot of different websites. I've done this myself too, covering all different types of topics. And there's a lot of those topics that I really couldn't care any less about. And you know what? I pay the least amount of attention to those websites. I also care the least amount about those particular websites. They're certainly not something that I wake up every day wanting to add to and grow. But there are a couple of certain topics of Amazon sites that I have built that I am very passionate about, that I do love. And you can kind of tell when you're looking at those sites, my knowledge in my writing is way above anything that I have on other websites of mine. And the results are way above the rest of it too. You know, when you really love something that you do, it shows in the stuff that you produce, no matter what that kind of stuff is. And this also applies to Amazon affiliates. So by promoting what you love on Amazon, you can spend more time focusing on that particular topic, and you can also incorporate some of the other things that we have been talking about so far, building an audience for yourself to follow you in that industry. And then you can cross-promote your website that has a lot of great information, and you also sell Amazon affiliate products through that website, products that are going to help people with the things that you are talking about. So this gets you way above the standard level of most Amazon websites, but this is really the future of Amazon marketing. You're going to see the automated websites get completely phased out over time because Amazon has already phased it out. It's just the marketers that are selling the products that haven't phased them out quite yet because those products are very appealing. Click a button, you build a whole website, it's automatically out there and ready to make you money. Sounds great in theory, but in practice, they just don't do anything, and they don't have any long-term stability to them. The things that these marketers talk about, they know what they're doing. They've been around for a long time. A lot of these speakers I saw at the very first conferences that I ever attended. So, you know, they're not the people that just come one day and disappear the next. These are the people that stick around and make a living at this kind of stuff and grow their businesses over time. Now, another thing that you can do as an Amazon affiliate that also applies to what EBR was talking about here is simply publish a ton of free content. But you have to make sure that this content is actually going to be content that helps people. That's the most important thing to remember. You don't just want fluff content. You want content that people are going to want to consume. This type of stuff helps you to attract that audience. It helps you to build all of these other factors, the know and the like and the trust. This also helps with the next aspect here, building relationships with your traffic. A lot of Amazon affiliates just have a website out there. They're solely focused on pushing traffic to it and getting that traffic to convert into a sale. So getting somebody to do a Google search, they find your site, they click on it, they go to your site, they click on an ad there, they go to Amazon, they buy the product, you get a commission, and you're done. That's the extent of the Amazon affiliate model for the most part, or at least for the vast majority of Amazon affiliates that are currently practicing these days. However, that's not really what is supposed to be done, or at least that's not the best way to do it, because those people that come and go through your website from whatever traffic source you have, instead of just trying to constantly get new people every day, to get enough new people to, make a difference, to help make money on your website, you grow the number of people over time by building these relationships with them, by building the followings. These followings can be pretty simple stuff even. Start a Facebook group having to do with your industry. By being the person that owns and runs that Facebook group in your industry, you're automatically viewed as an authority. My wife is not an internet marketer. She created, though, a Facebook group having to do with her favorite hobby just a couple of months ago, and she already has people contacting her privately talking about how well known she is in the industry and asking for her help and advice. This just goes to show you that by simply putting yourself out there, by letting people get to know you, by trying to gather all of your traffic into a following, you're going to increase your authority. You're going to get people to get to know you, to like you, and ultimately to trust you enough to want to buy the things that you recommend for them to buy. So this is kind of when selling becomes not necessarily your primary goal. It might be the reason why you are doing all this, to try to sell an Amazon product to somebody. But if all you do is focus on that sale, you're not going to really get there, or at least you're not going to get to that point very often. The sales are far and few between. You build up this level of trust and these relationships with your traffic and these followings, you can sell to the same people again and again. And ultimately, this is what a lot of marketers realize, but not a lot of affiliate marketers, and especially not a lot of Amazon affiliates. They don't really practice this type of stuff. But the ones that do, I guarantee, are making a killing. I have audiences and followings in certain industries, and I can certainly tell you that those are my most profitable ones. And this rings true for everybody that is a full-time internet marketer. Sorry about that. I think I clicked the wrong button there. Now the next guy I want to talk about is quite a character. This is Brad Goss, and I went to his Facebook page just to see what kind of images he might put out there for other people, and this is what I found at the top of his personal Facebook page. and it seemed like a pretty appropriate image to use for him. He's sitting in a bathtub on the phone ironing stacks of money. This is not your typical internet marketer, though. He does practice a lot of the common themes that you will see among other internet marketers, being known for something particular, having a following, but he's not your business opportunity kind of an internet marketer. He's not teaching people how to create their own marketing product, for example. He really doesn't even promote a ton of other marketing products. Most of what this guy is doing has to do with other stuff. He likes creating assets that can be sold and even resold online. And that's what he was talking about at the Warrior event this time around. Just in case you're not aware of who this guy is, this is Bret Michaels. At least some of the people that are my age and older might recognize who this is, and younger people might not have a clue who he is. Rock and roll legend, by the way, or at least some people would regard him that way. So he's certainly well known. He's certainly been around for a long time, and especially because he doesn't really have a focus on selling something to the people he's speaking to. For example, like at the Warrior event, he wasn't trying to sell anything to anybody that he was talking to. That's not his audience. That's not who he makes his money from. And so what he was sharing was genuinely to share and also to, increase a following for himself. If you're interested in doing something marketing related that ultimately for your audience has nothing to do with marketing, this kind of stuff can be pretty interesting. He was really talking about how you can create lucrative licensing deals that will pay you royalties for life potentially. Now there's two different methods that he was talking about, and one was more simple and one was a lot more involved and complex, but also had a much, much higher potential for income. The simple method here involves simply creating assets online. Typically, a lot of companies, a lot of internet companies do not really have assets. They might have a website or something like that, but unless you have some kind of a physical or digital product that can be sold or that is desired by people, the business doesn't really have anything of value. And so he will create these himself, and also he has a team of people that work on creating this type of stuff for him. And then for at least a lot of the stuff, he will resell these creations to not just one person, but over and over and over again. He'll resell this stuff for about 20% of the cost that it took to create it. So for something like a Vectortoon, which is just a little cartoon graphic image, he might pay $10 to have it created, and he might resell them for about $2 a piece. After you sell 5 of them, you've made your money back. Anything else you sell, you're making a profit. So he'll take this concept and multiply it in huge numbers. So he does a lot of Vectortoons. He has something like 20,000 Vectortoons that his team has created, and he sells these things for a couple bucks a piece. The same concept can be applied to a lot of other types of media and different assets online though. Things like music. You can go and find musicians on Fiverr, for example, that will record songs for you for relatively low amounts of money. I'll be talking about this in a few minutes actually when I get to the complex method in just a few. You can do photography, art, sound effects, writing. How you use this for writing is oftentimes through private label rights where, you have different topics and you have content about those topics and you resell that content to more than one person, to more than one website essentially to be able to use. This can even apply to stuff like software, templates, and the list can honestly go on and on. There's all kinds of stuff that could really be considered an asset like this that you can create that would be reusable, that you could continue to sell over and over again. Now you can also, instead of just reselling or even along with reselling these assets, you can use them to create websites. For example, if you had a bunch of graphics and music or video photography created that had to do with a particular industry, you could create sites using all of those assets. And these could be Amazon affiliate websites that utilize all these different assets that you are also then reselling to other people to use as well. So you can kind of create multiple income streams. You can keep these websites and you can even resell these websites to make a larger amount of money in a shorter period of time, at least from each individual site. You can also use this kind of stuff for recurring income. For example, creating music and streaming these songs online. There are all sorts of different music streaming services that are out there, and quite a few of them you can create your own stuff and just upload it to them for free in a lot of cases. But then you'll get paid every time somebody listens to it. Brad Goss actually does this kind of stuff with kid songs. Yes, it's maybe scary to think about, but it's possible that some of the songs you stream online for your children may have been created by this guy sitting in the bathtub ironing his money. But it's true. Now his complex licensing method. This is something that I'm going to be able to give you a specific example for, that you can go and check out, something that he has actually recently created and is quite honestly making a ton of money with. It's something called Brushy Bear, like brushing your teeth, Brushy Bear. Brushy Bear is a character brand for a specific niche, a specific industry. This would be for the dental industry. He even has other ones that he has created, things like for the same industry, Cavity Cat, Flossy Fox, but Brushy Bear is really the one that has kind of gained the most notoriety. He's kind of the main character of the brand. One thing that he did with Brushy Bear was he simply wrote a song himself. He had his team create a fairly simple animated video that was using a lot of his Vectortoon assets that he already had created. And then he had a musician on Fiverr record that song that he wrote for him, and it only cost him $40 to do it. And that song is the main song that you will find if you go to Facebook and you go to the Brushy Bear Facebook page. And as ridiculous as it may sound, it actually works. His song is actually called Brush Your Tongue, It Smells Like Bum. It's possible some of you may have even seen this floating around Facebook. It's had over 2 million views on it already. And this video sells tongue brushers, essentially a toothbrush for your tongue. What he did was create this video ahead of time, and he actually had the nerve to go out and pitch to try to get this video used by big brands of tongue brushing companies. He would set up appointments with these people, and how he got these appointments was by contacting them on Twitter. A lot of times, if you message these big brands on Twitter, they'll actually put you in touch with the decision makers of the company. You might even be able to schedule a phone call with them. So that's what he did. He set up a phone call meeting with two executives that are decision makers at these tongue brushing companies, and he pitched this video to them. The first company that he was talking to, he mentioned to them, I have this great video that I've created. I really think it's going to help to, energize the marketplace about your product and help drive a lot of sales for you and get you a lot of attention and recognition also. But I also have another call with this competitor of yours, and I have this scheduled to come up next, but I only want to work with one company. So, I'm offering it to you guys first. I feel like it would be a really great fit for your brand. But ultimately, if you don't like it, that's not a problem. We'll part ways, and, I'll just go and sell it to your competitor. Without actually mentioning the competitor there in that kind of a conversation, companies have a tendency to drag their feet. But when you're talking about their direct competitor, especially a competitor that a lot of times might be a little more modern than they are, these companies will usually pay attention and they will give you a quick answer at least and not leave you hanging. They can oftentimes say, okay, let me talk to the boss about it real quick, and we'll get right back to you and let you know if we want to proceed with this thing. So that's what he did. He approached these companies and he sold it to the very first brand that he got on the phone with. He didn't even have to do that second call that he had set up. What he got out of this is the company now pays every month to run that video as an advertisement on Facebook. They have a minimum spend of $1,000 a month, and they actually spend a lot more than that since it's been doing so well for them. And Brad Goss gets 25% of whatever they're spending. So they spend $1,000 a month on ads, he gets a check for $250 every month. If they increase their ad spend and they're spending $10,000 a month, then he'll get a check for $2,500 a month from it. All from the creation of one simple little video that he now doesn't have to do anything else for. He has a contract with this company. He went and paid a lawyer $100 or something to write up the agreement that he used to create this kind of a deal with the company. So it doesn't require big money to get started with, and this kind of thing can really kind of apply outside of the actual things that Brad is trying to do, and I'll be talking to you about those in just a couple of minutes. Beyond pitching this, though, to a big brand, what he has actually done, especially because he was able to get this one Brushy Bear video out there and has gained a lot of popularity, he's now creating an entire line of brand products for this Brushy Bear and related characters. He's got all different kinds of videos. He's got materials like pamphlets and toothbrushes and pencils and anything that he can really think of, t-shirts. He even takes songs from these characters talking about dental related topics, and he streams these songs and earns a monthly income off of that. So he's going after this kind of stuff from all directions to be able to profit from it, and he's profiting rather large off of it too. Part of this is then taking all of this material that he has and marketing it to local companies. So in his field, this would be obviously for a dentist. The dentist, the assistants, the dental hygienists, they will come along a lot of times on Facebook. They'll see his video and they'll share it to, their customers. They'll share it on their Facebook page. This gives him a warm lead to then go and pursue, and he'll contact that company through Facebook and he'll pitch them on a marketing package. This is where he will offer all of this Brushy Bear marketing material, all these graphics and pamphlets and stuff that they can hand out to their clients in their dental practices. And they pay Brad Goss between $1,000 and $5,000 a month for the licensing rights for this marketing material. If they stop paying, they lose their rights to use the marketing material. This simply ensures that the people that are enjoying it, the people that are benefiting from it, simply continue to pay him. And he's turned it into a rather lucrative business as a result. Now, as far as Amazon affiliates go, how you can utilize this stuff for your own benefit is, number one, you can do the same kind of stuff. I kind of mentioned this briefly before in creating assets, creating different graphics and content, could even be videos or music having to do with a certain industry. You can outsource the creation of all of this content and then use that content to assemble Amazon affiliate websites yourself. Now, these websites you can keep and use them to build a recurring monthly income with it, or you could even resell these sites on Flippa. This is actually something that Brad is personally doing. Sometimes he might be using Amazon, other times he might be using other stuff, like he might just put Google AdSense on a website, for example. And he'll have all of these pre-built assets that he'll use to create these sites, and he'll resell them on Flippa. A lot of times it's not for very large amounts of money. It might be $100 or $200 a website. But when these are assets that you've created, you own the licensing rights for, and you're just simply licensing them out one website at a time for them to be able to reuse them like that, you can use them over and over again. And selling a website for a couple $100 is really profitable, and you can crank them out in large numbers like that. You could also go a little more extreme with this and outsource still assemble the websites yourself, but go for higher quality content and not resell the content, not license it out to anybody. And again, either keep the sites yourself or resell them. But those websites with unique content that's not going to be resold to other people will have a lot more value to it. The sites will be more profitable. If you're going to be reselling the site, you can resell it for a lot more. You might be able to get a couple $1,000s for a high quality Amazon site, even if it's only been around for a couple of months with a little bit of sales proof to back it up. Now, the next person I want to talk about is a lady named Alice Seba. Alice mainly focuses on free content and how valuable it is, again, to help build a loyal following, loyal lifetime customers, an audience for yourself, for your website. So you might be able to start seeing common themes now among all of these top earning internet marketers. They all believe in the same stuff because they're doing it themselves. This is what's working for them. Now, Alice's main focus is really on the content itself, and especially about what is in that content. She doesn't just blindly pick out a topic and start to write about it or create some kind of content for that topic. She is really trying to create what's known as persuasive content in pretty much any kind of writing that she does. So first of all, I want to talk about the differences here. What is copywriting and what is persuasive content? What are the differences? Why does it really matter to you? Now, copywriting is writing for the purpose of selling a product or even a service. So this would be something like a sales page. It could even be a product description or an advertisement for an Amazon product. Anytime you're trying to convince somebody to buy that product, essentially, you're doing copywriting. Persuasive writing, though, a lot of times is something different. Persuasive writing can still be used in copywriting. You obviously do want to be persuasive when you are doing copywriting and trying to sell a product, but ultimately persuasive content can be a lot more than just copywriting. Blog posts that you create, the homepage, the different aspects of your web page that all help to back up whatever it is you're trying to convince people to do, whether it be buy a product, sign up for an email list, it really doesn't matter. The persuasive content convinces people on the copywriting content. So ultimately, you really need to be able to master persuasive writing to truly be able to do a good job with any kind of free content online. Now, the way you actually go about mastering persuasive writing begins with a couple of basic ideas. You first need to have a lot of ideas for your content, and you need your content to have purpose. This is something I'll get into talking about in more detail in just a couple minutes. You also need content that's going to grab the attention of people. And you have to be able to put a lot of it out there. One really great article, one really great persuasive piece of content is not going to make you a fortune. You have to put that kind of stuff out there on a regular basis. Cover as many different possible topics and angles that you can think about that have to do with your subject matter. And that's really how you start to get tons of traffic instead of just trickles of traffic. Now I want to talk about the 5 steps for more persuasive content that Alice was teaching at the Warrior event. The first of these is to bring value. You need to be above what your audience is doing in terms of experience and knowledge to be able to help them, but ultimately you don't necessarily have to be an expert in whatever it is that you're trying to do. Everybody has to start somewhere. Even if you want to strive to be the most well-known person for a certain industry and to be the most respected authority in that industry, just because you might not be there yet doesn't mean that you can't get there. And you get there by bringing value. And again, All you have to do is make sure that you know what you're talking about with that value. So let's say you're still trying to learn a certain subject. How would you go about bringing value on that subject while you're still learning it yourself? Your learning in any subject matter can be viewed as a journey. Share that journey with them. Tell them what you were going through. Tell them what you were trying to learn. Tell them why you're trying to learn it. Show your results from it all. This puts you essentially just one step ahead even of your audience. So your audience could be complete beginners and you just might have one extra piece of knowledge than they have, and you can teach that to them because that's what you're learning at this moment yourself. And then you take the next step. You learn that and you pass that along to your audience. So no matter how advanced or in the beginning stages of something you might be, you can still accomplish this. You also need to understand your audience. This is ultimately finding out what people need, and it can actually be an ongoing process. Even once you figure out what your audience needs, it might change a year from now. You do this by actually getting in touch with your audience, by interacting with them, by helping people out, or even just by asking them what they ultimately want. I mentioned earlier when I was talking about Brad Goss, with his whole brand marketing package that he goes out there and pitches to local dentists. That particular package, the stuff that's included in it, it's not just random stuff that he came up with to put in there. He went out and he talked to actual dentists. He'd go into a dentist office and talk with them about how he could help them out as, a marketer. And he initially went in trying to pitch them on, bringing them more clients and simply getting them more sales, getting more people in the door. And ultimately, that's not really what they wanted, even though he could have swore that that's what they were going to want, was more customers. They wanted their customers to be more at ease with their business, to be more comfortable with going to the dentist. And so that's really what all of his marketing content ended up getting centered around, the audience. So in that regard, things like generic marketing data, even keyword research, does not give you all the information you need to understand your audience. It might show you some things that people are interested in, but it doesn't really tell you what people need. So if you don't know, ask people. Don't be afraid to reach out to your audience and simply ask them what they need. Next up, we have creating content with purpose. I mentioned before that I would talk about this in a little more detail shortly. Ultimately, when you're creating any kind of content, you need to have an end goal in mind. Why are you creating that content? Where is that content going to take your audience in the grand scheme of things? So you need to have a plan. Otherwise, you'll end up wasting your time creating all of this free content. So figure out what your purpose is going to be before you actually start creating your content. And then ultimately, when you do create your content, you need to have at least one and maybe even multiple call to actions in there to drive people along to accomplish that purpose. So this can apply to anything. It can apply to building an email newsletter list, getting more people into an audience in, say, a Facebook group. This could even be driving sales on a product. So the call to action is telling someone, go buy this, or go sign up here. When you know what that end result is going to be, what it is that you're trying to get people to do, you can then more effectively create content that is centered around that purpose. Content that's going to lead people to that conclusion that you want them to take. I'm actually doing a separate training class called Hobbyazon right now. A lot of you guys that are here tonight are in that class. This is something that I will actually be teaching there, creating content with purpose. I create these really in-depth tutorials on those websites. Doesn't matter the subject, as long as it's something that people need in your industry. I could just throw a tutorial out there and teach people stuff, and they might be, wow, this is great. They might bookmark the website. They may even come back to it. But I can add a call to action or multiple call to actions within those tutorials to get people to take certain steps, to get them to buy an Amazon product that I recommend, or to become a part of my audience, be it follow me in a Facebook group or join my email list or something like that. I could even take this huge in-depth tutorial and turn it into an ebook and encourage people that want to download the whole tutorial as a little take-home ebook guide, join my email list. And I can use that as my call to action throughout my in-depth tutorial. This is also part of the next step, growing your customer relationships. You ultimately need to educate your subscribers in a lot of cases to turn them into buyers. Part of this is the free content stuff that I was talking to you about back with EBR. How you're letting people get to know you. You're letting people get to like you, and especially you're giving people the chance to trust you as well. All these different aspects allow you to grow a relationship with the people that are on your website, your audience. I have a lot of people here in this class tonight that have been following me since even 2010 when I first started creating products and software and things like that for other marketers based on my own personal experiences with running my own Amazon affiliate sites. So I can tell you from personal experience, this stuff works, and you can apply it to any industry that you want to. Now, ultimately, a lot of persuasive content includes one critical component, and when you take this component out, the rest of it kind of collapses, or at least it's just not as effective. And yet it's something that a lot of people leave out. And that is this final thing, telling stories and sharing examples. These stories do not necessarily have to be your story. If you do have a relevant personal story that you can tell having to do with your topic or having to do with your industry, could be some kind of an inspiration story, could be a way you overcame a certain problem you're trying to teach people to overcome. Whatever the case is, any kind of a story there will help you out. If it's not your story, it could be a story of maybe one of your clients, one of your audience members. It could just be people that you know, or even people that you hear of. You can read a news article about someone's story and personal experience that has something to do with your industry, and you can relay this information. You can tell that person's personal story to back up whatever it is that you're trying to teach people. or trying to convince them to do. You can also simply share examples. Um, with my tutorials that I build a lot of times, I will show examples of, what am I actually doing with this knowledge? What have I managed to accomplish with it? And again, if you don't have that kind of stuff to tell about yourself, find somebody that it has worked for and relay their story. Now, you can make stories that aren't necessarily true just to emphasize a point, but personally, I like to only stick to stories that are true. But there are a lot of people that, will just make up a story because it fits with what they're trying to teach. They might be trying to, you know, drill in the reason why somebody needs to know this information or why somebody needs to do something a particular way. And as long as they know that to be the truth of what they're trying to push that person towards, then at least for some people, it might not feel wrong to make up a story. Although, again, that's personally not a tactic that I use at all. Now, for Amazon affiliates, this I think is something that's really important to pay attention to. It's worth mentioning to you guys because a lot of Amazon affiliates almost solely focus on copywriting and do not necessarily engage in persuasive content. Sometimes the extent of their persuasive content might be in the copywriting itself, trying to get someone to buy that product. But why should somebody care about the products that your website is recommending? The persuasive content that backs up your copywriting content, that's really where the power is. This is something that I personally have been recommending for a long time. I teach people to build Amazon sites that do not just have product pages. You need supporting information. You need information that is going to build trust with your readers to ultimately get them to want to buy a product through you. People aren't stupid these days. If they see you're promoting a product on Amazon and they really don't think you deserve to get a commission off of it, they'll just go to Amazon and find that product and buy it straight from there. But if they like you, if they have been able to learn things and be helped by your content in the process, they're a lot more likely to eagerly buy through you. This also can be used to help you to build a loyal audience. Persuasive content, this content that brings value and is the kind of value that your customers are looking for. So you're delivering the things that they actually want and need to them through this content, through this free content. And then you're using that content with a purpose to help you to build that audience. So you could use, drive people to a Facebook group or build up an email newsletter list with that free content. And ultimately utilize that loyal audience to help you to drive sales. So picture a completely different kind of Amazon site than what you're used to, where you typically would just have your Amazon product pages and it just looks like an e-commerce store. Instead, think about a site that is full of really great information about a topic. So for example, let's say you have a site on computers. A lot of Amazon affiliates that have a computer site, it's probably just going to be a site filled with a bunch of ads for computers and a bunch of product pages for the individual computers. What if instead you had a site that taught people how to use a computer, even a beginner? So somebody that's never touched a computer before, the goal of your website is to teach somebody how to do it and how to be comfortable with it. Ultimately, a website like that would be really appreciated by people that are trying to learn how to use a computer. Who do you think they would then, once they have kind of learned a lot of those skills from, and they're confident enough to say, hey, yeah, I could go out and buy a computer and probably actually make some use out of it, you know? They'd be a lot more inclined to buy from that person. They could then, you know, when you get to the completion of the class or something like that, you promote your recommended computer to them. You tell them from the get-go, you know, when you graduate, I'm going to, you know, based on what you've been able to accomplish or something during this training program, I will recommend what I think is going to be the best kind of product for you to buy, the best computer, for example. Maybe it's talking about software and all different other things that you could be promoting. Utilizing your audience then for something like that, sending them a simple email and driving them along to then a relevant product page on your site with copywriting now, but still persuasive copywriting to get them to buy that product. That product page is not the first experience that somebody has when they're coming into your site to what you're doing. And so you're giving them the chance to get to know you first, to build that trust in you before they actually move along to beginning to buy from you. The millionaire marketers are doing it, and I've been recommending for Amazon affiliates to do this same type of stuff for many, many years. And ultimately, those that do will benefit from it a lot. But even if you're not doing Amazon, again, same concepts. No matter what you're doing, use this type of stuff to build your own loyal following. Now, the next guy I want to talk about, at least very briefly, I don't have a ton to say about this guy, but there are a couple things that he talks about that were worth mentioning. This is Omar Martin. Some of you may know who Omar Martin is. He's a top vendor and even a top affiliate on the JVZoo network. And as you can see from his picture here, he isn't exactly too hard up for money. He does pretty well for himself. Even if all these cars that are fancy in this top picture, even if he rented all of them, he'd still need to make a pretty decent amount of money just to afford that kind of stuff. He does make a couple $1,000,000 a year off of JVZoo and the related business that he has built up as a result of it. The main thing of importance about his business is that he tries not to conduct it in the way that a lot of other marketers do, especially the kind of marketers that are doing what he does, which is his specialty is really creating marketing products and selling them and teaching other people how to do the same type of thing. Instead of focusing on the normal process that people go through with this type of a business, where you have a normal funnel, you build your leads at the top of your funnel, and then as people go through your funnel, they're narrowed down to where you get less and less people buying from lower levels of your funnel, which are the more expensive items. That's the typical internet marketing type of funnel. Well, he takes this funnel and he turns it sideways. And ultimately, he starts with the most expensive thing on the entire funnel and figures out what he's going to offer for that. And then everything else in the funnel is based off of that one item, to the point where he doesn't have to figure out really what to create to go along with something. What I mean by that is a lot of times people might, create a software product and then say, okay, I'm going to sell the software product, but then for the people that buy that software product, what will I offer to them? and they try to figure out what might be the best thing to make to go along with that software product. Well, Omar recommends doing it the other way around. You create the big stuff first, and you work your way backwards. Sometimes the stuff backwards that you're going into might just be a piece of the big package. Ultimately, he also recommends to sell more by ultimately offering more. And what I mean by this is if he takes the sales numbers on the most expensive thing that he has to offer, he might have one or a couple of people that buy this most expensive thing that he has to offer, say once a year. If he were to look then a step backwards in his funnel at the next most expensive item, his sales on that item will be more frequent than the previous one, the more expensive one. And then every step backwards in his funnel he goes, he gets more and more sales on that because it's typically cheaper items, it's being offered to more people, and so on. So his whole concept is if he wants to increase his sales on some of his more expensive stuff, say he wanted more sales on his most expensive coaching package that he offers, all he has to do is create an offer that's even more expensive than that one and offer even more to go along with it. And he'll start selling a couple of those every year. But then some of the people, when they're looking at that offer, they're going to be more inclined to go for the more cheaper option. And they might say, okay, I don't need a couple of these certain features in this more expensive package. I'm going to go with the cheaper one. And so he might go from selling a couple of these really expensive items in a year to selling a couple of them every month by simply having an even more expensive option out there than that. Now, this doesn't necessarily apply to a lot of marketers. You know, not all marketers create these elaborate product funnels that have a lot of these different levels. An Amazon affiliate, for example, might not even have a funnel at all. The extent of an Amazon affiliate's funnel might just be something like a lead funnel, where we've kind of been talking about this over the course of this evening. You put out some free content and people enjoy that free content. They follow you. They become part of your audience. And then you try, after they're a part of the audience, then you try to get them to buy things. This could be simply recommending Amazon affiliate products to them. Well, if you want to take your audience, if you're getting a decent amount of sales and you simply want to increase the income that you are getting from your existing audience, just start promoting a more high tier item, a more high tier option along with what you would normally promote. So again, I'll go back to the computer example. Let's say I have an Amazon site where I'm promoting computers and I have all this great information, this great free content out there on my Amazon site to attract my audience, to build my audience for me. And then every once in a while, I might recommend a computer for them to buy for a certain purpose, maybe a gaming computer or something like that. So then I'll write up a page to sell them these computers, and I'll direct my audience to that page. So providing them simply a link to my website that then would have my Amazon ads along with information trying to sell those products. Instead of just recommending what I think the average person would be more likely to buy, a decent gaming computer perhaps with, you know, not a crazy high budget, I might put an ad on there for a computer that costs something like $800 or $1,000 maybe. But if I took that same page and I added another option to it, a much higher ticket option. I went out and found like the best gaming computer that I could find. On Amazon, you can actually find gaming computers, for example, that cost $10,000 or more. And they're full of the most powerful high-end components that you can really buy for a computer. Most likely, most people won't be interested in buying that, but you might get a couple of them, say every year, that are interested and do have the money for that really high-end product. Not only that though, by having those two side by side, in a lot of ways you make that cheaper product a lot more appealing just simply from the price of it. For people that know, there's no way I can afford this one, so obviously this is what, you know, I'm best off with. So you'll be encouraging more sales on the cheaper item, but then your occasional sale that you manage to get on that really expensive high tier item, that also will be increasing your income. So you can take, by driving the same amount of traffic to a page like that with the normal option, or you take the normal option and a much more expensive, like high-end item option to go right alongside of it, you're simply going to end up making more long-term by having those high-tier options available. This is really what Omar is all about with growing his business, being able to take his same audience and increasing the income that he is able to make off of it. You can do this same type of thing in pretty much any industry that is out there selling products or selling different types of services, but you can still even apply this type of stuff as an Amazon affiliate and do it rather effectively. Now finally, the last person that I would like to talk about this evening is a guy named Mike Stewart. Mike Stewart is not a spring chicken. He's an older guy. He's actually been building his career ever since the 1980s or so. And at the top of the screen in that picture, you see him more recently, and the bottom of the screen, you see him more in the early part of his career. He's actually this guy right here in this picture. And what he is holding in this picture in the bottom is actually a gold record. Back in the 1980s, his band created a song called Pac-Man Fever, and it sold enough copies to get a gold record. And he has essentially pursued audio and music and even video as a result of that career that he started up for him. He has done since then all kinds of different stuff, ranging from all the different Waffle House songs. He created all of them. He created the theme song for the animated movie Wreck-It Ralph. And he's done hundreds of other various songs and jingles in his career. He has also created a lot of videos to kind of bring a lot of that work and business to himself over the years. He creates a lot of video content using a lot of times nothing more than his phone or his tablet. He says he even likes to go out. He lives on Lake Lanier in Georgia. He likes to go out on the lake and just a raft with his iPad and work. And he'll be creating videos and editing videos and getting them published and marketing them, all while relaxing out in the middle of the lake. So he has definitely turned creating videos and stuff like that into a dream job for himself, and has had a successful career along the way. Now, one of the main things that he was really talking about at the Warrior event had to do with how he utilizes this video, how he actually does it, kind of the simplified manner that he does it in. Most of the stuff that he uses is not professional equipment. You know, he had to start out on that more professional equipment. He had pictures in his presentation of himself with all this fancy video gear from like the 1990s, for example, that cost a ton of money and the average person couldn't afford. But nowadays, pretty much everyone has some kind of video device. A lot of people, you know, will have like an iPhone or some kind of Android smartphone. That's the basis of really all you need. He will take these devices, record video with them, and then edit the video on apps straight on the device. Now, he is really more of an Apple user. He'll have either his iPad or his iPhone that he is doing a lot of this work with. So at least some of the apps and the gear that he recommends to use along with it, some of these things are exclusively for Apple products. If you do find something like that and you're not able to use it if you use, say, an Android smartphone, just go and search for, you know, the same type of thing. There's likely going to be some kind of Android replacement for these different products. I've listed a number of apps here for you. BossJock Studio, Explain Everything, Power Directory, iMovie, Intromate, VideoScribe, Doodlecast, Teleprompt Plus, YouTube Director for Business. These different apps are great for a wide variety of different purposes, from video editing to making your videos better, to simply helping you to perform better on the camera, like the teleprompt program. So you can record a script for yourself and have it in a teleprompter while you're recording your videos. So you don't really have to remember what you want to say. He also has this various gear that he recommends to go along with a phone or an iPad, and it really boils down to two different things here. One of them is audio. The cell phones and the iPads and stuff, they might take great video, but when it comes to capturing audio of somebody that's not like right on the phone, basically, you know, you're recording a video of something that's going on 10, 20 feet away, and you want to record what that person is saying and not get a lot of extra background noise. They're not the best for that type of purpose. So what the pros do is just buy an external microphone to go along with, say, an iPhone. This can be as simple as a decent quality lapel mic. These are the mics that essentially just hang down. You have a little piece that might go in your ear if you need to be able to hear things that are going on. And then there's like a little lapel that you clip to your shirt, and it's got a microphone on it. And then it connects into your phone. They even have wireless ones, but actually the wired ones, unless it'll look silly for you to have that wire going from you to the phone that's being recorded, the wired ones will actually give better audio quality. The other option could be some kind of actual external mic. For the Apple products, he recommends the Apogee Lightning mic. The Yeti is great for any type of device, honestly, for computers, especially for audio recording. The other main piece of gear that he recommends, besides mic, is some kind of a tripod or a mount for it. They have essentially these selfie sticks that are also tripods, to where you can squeeze the little tripod pieces together and kind of use it as a selfie stick, or you can let them all spread out and you can actually just sit it on a desk somewhere and put your smartphone inside of this little box that it has on the top of the tripod, and it'll shoot a stable video for you using your smartphone, so you don't have to sit there and hold it and have shaky video in the end. These two simple little tools make for much better results. Now ultimately, he is simply looking to create as much of this content, so a lot of this video content might be free content that he's using to build an audience, or it might even be paid content that he's trying to sell. Regardless, he's trying to create a lot of them with a fairly minimal amount of effort, and he's going to be publishing and monetizing. I don't mind going ahead and picking up that question now, Paul. He was curious what kind of mic I use. I actually use a mic called the Sennheiser Office Runner. It's a headset mic. I didn't really want to have a mic sitting on my desk. I might be sitting there tapping out on my keyboard, and something like the Blue Yeti, it tends to pick up a lot of your desk sounds, essentially, more so than like a headset mic would. I also use it for things like Skype calls with people, so I wanted to have an actual speaker in the earpiece, but didn't want a full headset. It's just like a half headset, essentially. So that's the mic that I use for not only this particular class, for my live calls that I do, but also for any videos that I create as well. Now, when you are publishing these videos and trying to monetize them, there are, again, a lot of different ways that you can go about doing that. A number of things that Mike had to recommend, what's new and growing, having to do with video and audio, things like video blogging, video sales letters, creating video membership sites. There are e-learning platforms, something like Udemy, where you can create training classes and put them out there and people actually buy them and you get a cut. Using videos for YouTube SEO, paid video advertising, social media videos, live streaming, Facebook Live, for example. There's also YouTube Connect, supposed to be coming up in the near future, Snapchat, Instagram, OBS, BlueJeans.com. I'm not even familiar with a couple of those, but he still recommends them. Now, in terms of how to make money with your videos, you can create info products where you're just simply teaching people things. Those e-learning videos, like I was mentioning before, you can create membership sites where you release new video content to them on a regular basis. People are even still buying on-demand CDs and DVDs. You can create books and have them automatically published for you on CreateSpace, for example. CreateSpace will even publish not just books, but they'll even do the CDs and the DVDs for you. So you can use video with CreateSpace and sell a DVD training program on Amazon, for example. You can create audiobooks on audible.com, for example, which is also part of Amazon. You can create YouTube videos to generate leads. You can create Facebook videos, WordPress, blog videos. You can run your own podcast. And a lot of this stuff can even tie back into many of the other things we've been talking about tonight, which is building some status and authority for yourself in your industry. And you can also do live streaming of pretty much any kind. It could be audio, could be video, could be a combination. Really just kind of depends on, what people are interested in your industry, what people would like to see, and what you feel like you could create and put out there and put value into. Now, for Amazon affiliates, you can really create video and audio products for a wide variety of different purposes. This could just be free content. You could be using this to build an audience, which in turn help you to drive traffic, also helps you to build that extra authority and trust. Ultimately, putting all this stuff together will help you to sell more Amazon products by building up that loyal audience for yourself. So it can even help to increase your profits as well. Now, Mike had a couple of final tips at the end of his presentation that I thought would be useful to pass along. The videos that you create, you want to make sure that what you're creating is something that people would actually want to share. So it needs to be good. It needs to have some useful, helpful information in it in some way. If nobody would really want to share it with a friend of theirs that's interested in the same topic, then you probably shouldn't be creating it. It's probably not going to be worth your time to create it. Try to post one video every week. Whatever it is that you do, however, whatever kind of audience you want to build, whatever kind of industry you're trying to pursue, create one video about it every week. Publish that video on YouTube. Publish that video on Facebook. If you have a Facebook group as an audience, post your video there. You can even create a weekly blog post on your website about your video that even includes your video. So then you have the video itself, but then you talk about the video more in depth. This kind of stuff will really improve your search rankings. It doesn't cost money, especially if you're producing all these videos yourself. And the videos are actually pretty easy to rank. You can create videos and put them up on YouTube and sometimes have traffic before the end of the day for those different topics. By keeping some kind of a regular publishing program with whatever kind of free content you're putting out, this can even extend way beyond video. Just by having some kind of regular schedule saying, okay, I'm going to put something out at least once a week, you're going to grow your potential more and more as more time passes on, because after a year, you'll have over 50 videos out there, for example, if you just do one a week. After you're out there for a couple of years, you'll end up with hundreds of videos, just maintaining that same type of pace. And that goes a long, long way in the long run to help you to build that audience. You can imagine somebody that's been doing the same thing for 5 years. One person only takes the search traffic that they're getting off of Google and nothing else, and the other person is constantly building an audience with their traffic. The person that's building that audience, the person that is putting all that value into it to create a following, they're going to be much, much further ahead 5 years down the line. Now, finally, getting back to myself for just a few minutes, I want to give you my closing thoughts for not just for Amazon affiliates, but for all marketers on the Warrior event and what people were really focused on at this particular event. This is something I've been able to see evolve a lot more so over the years, but in the last year or two, it's really starting to become more prevalent, and that is that people are starting to realize that marketing is not a magic button. Even though you could probably go out to JVZoo right now and find a marketing product that is promising that that it is a magic button, that they can buy this simple software and it's going to make these magical things happen for them in such a short period of time, and you really don't have to put forth any work or effort into it. Sorry, but that stuff does not exist. And the people that are telling you that it does, they're lying just to get a sale. They just want your money. That's all there is to it. That stuff makes for really great sales pages and nothing more. None of the real marketers that have a ton of success and experience and are making a lot of money and are doing this full time, they're not doing it that way. They bust their butts in their marketing business to make it successful. I do it. All of these other speakers that I just got done teaching you about, they've been doing it too. It's not easy, but the rewards are well worth it. Ultimately, this is also why you should be loving what you are doing. I wouldn't still be doing what I'm doing right now. I would not be talking to you right now if I did not enjoy doing this kind of stuff. Otherwise, I'd just pick something else, and that would be what I would pursue. But I honestly love doing this type of stuff. I love marketing. I love building websites. I love helping other people that may not be able to see through all the marketing BS that's out there these days. Ultimately, when you don't see a single one of the world's top internet marketers, guys making millions of dollars a year, when you don't see any of them using these completely hands-off automated systems that do everything for them, why, should you believe that it will work for somebody that's smaller, somebody that's just getting started? If, of anybody, the really well-known guys should be able to utilize that type of stuff, but they don't because it's garbage and they won't have that following for long if they do that kind of thing. So this is something I wanted to make sure to emphasize to you guys. Whatever you want to be successful at with marketing, be prepared to work for it. Be prepared to put in some sweat and even some tears to get to what you want to get to. It doesn't mean that you will have to keep up that pace forever. There's certainly a point where you gain some of that authority and notoriety, and if you want to keep growing your business at a crazy fast pace, you can keep pushing ahead and do so, or you can slow down at least to a certain degree, but you never really completely step away from an online business unless you have other employees that completely run all the aspects for you. It's really the only way you're ever going to completely walk away from something that's really successful. And yet, the average marketer won't tell you that because it'll hurt their bottom line, because it's contradictory to what a lot of their products they're trying to sell you. It's contradictory to what those products do. And yet this is a common theme among everybody that's speaking, among all of these successful internet marketers. It's a theme that I have been pushing ever since I started teaching other people marketing back in 2010, even long before it became a little more mainstream like it is nowadays. And it's just going to become even more so the case as the years go on. If you want to still be doing marketing and want to be successful at it 5, 10 years down the road, you have to put some work into it. You have to put some quality into it. Give people a reason to want to follow you, to want to buy from you, no matter what it is that you're doing. The next thing, pick one thing to be known for. This is also a really common theme that you see among the most successful marketers. Most people that are really successful and make a lot of money at what they do, they're known just for that one thing. Me, for example, you know me as being an Amazon affiliate. I do more than just being an Amazon affiliate. I build websites, I do programming, I make my own software, I do e-commerce stuff, I do consulting, I do training classes. But that's not publicly really what I'm known for. I'm known for being an Amazon affiliate. That's my business focus. Ultimately, that's really where I got my start and why I even started teaching people stuff. So from the very beginning, I've been building that one focus on myself, one thing to be known for. And no matter what you do, having that focus for yourself Not only gives you a clear direction to go in, but it gives the people that are interested in following you a clear idea of who you are and the kind of stuff you're going to be teaching them and helping them out with. Otherwise, you just bounce all over the place and your customers are all over the place and you get much worse results in the long run if you're not focused. The next thing, number 3, build an audience. Again, I've been stressing this all throughout this class. The other guys have been talking about it. No matter what you do, having a loyal audience that wants to hear about new things, that wants to learn new stuff, that wants to follow somebody that they can trust in an industry, those people are going to succeed a lot more so than the people that do not build that audience. I've been guilty of doing stuff like this in the past myself, where I just have Amazon sites that just sit there and run themselves. And that's okay to a certain extent. But if I were to take my most popular 1 or 2 Amazon affiliate sites and not have an audience surrounding them, I'd be crazy, because it definitely drives multiple times more traffic and multiple times the sales that I would ordinarily be able to achieve without those audiences. The next thing, number 4, create tons of high quality content. No matter what kind of content you're going to create, whether it's free content or whether it's content you're trying to sell, whether it's content you're just trying to use to build an audience for yourself, it needs to be good stuff. People need to have a reason to want to read it. You need that content to build trust in your audience, to want them to get to follow you and to want them to want to buy from you. And you need that to help get more exposure. When you put out all that great stuff, people are a lot more likely to share that information with their friends, to talk about it on social media. And these days, that's how you take what could be a couple thousand visitors a month on a site to a couple 100,000 visitors a month. The next thing is create business assets. No matter what you're doing online, what if you died tomorrow? I hate the question. I hate thinking about it myself. I'm still pretty young overall. I'm only in my mid-30s. But even the question arises in my mind because I'm the sole provider for my family. I'm married with 3 children. What if I did drop dead tomorrow? Is there any value in my business? Will my family still be able to provide for themselves a month from now? Would it still either create money without me being there, or could all of that be sold because it is a tangible business asset, because it's something with actual value? I have a lot of software and things of that nature that are tangible business assets. People buy licenses to them all the time. Same thing with training products, information products. All of that stuff, all the websites, it's all assets that are a part of my business, and they have real value. I could go and liquidate my entire business on Flippa tomorrow and make a crap load of money off of it if I wanted to. Any kind of business that doesn't have those types of assets to them, the real value to them that other people would pay for, you should ultimately ask yourself if it is worth your while to be doing it. I think you're a lot better off creating businesses that have real assets that can continue to learn from you and earn for you. Finally, number 6 here, break out of your comfort zone. This is a common theme at all marketing conferences, especially for a lot of people that are not only speaking, but in the audience as well. Everybody there has certain things that they want to do, certain people that they want to meet, certain things they want to achieve, but ultimately you have your own limits. My limits used to be I didn't like creating videos. I didn't like even recording my voice on a video or even making like an audio recording for that matter. I didn't want to do private coaching calls and things like that once upon a time. In fact, if you had asked me in say 2009 or even 2010, would I ever do that kind of stuff? In a million years, I would have told you no, absolutely no way. That's not what I want to do. That's not what I enjoy. That's not in my comfort zone. I'm not I'm not the public speaking kind of guy. But I learned to be. I built those skills over time from practicing them. So no matter what you do, I would highly recommend whatever you feel like your limit is and what you are comfortable with doing, try to just go one little step above that. And when you get there, try to make another step above that one too. Doing that kind of stuff slowly over time, you will expand your ability to put out a lot more of this stuff that is ultimately driving most of the success for marketers out there these days. The videos, gaining authority for yourself, getting people to know who you are, speaking at events, doing interviews, and even appearing on TV, that's not in the ordinary bag of tricks for your average person. I'm certainly in that group. That's not what I like to do. I'm completely content most of the time just staying at home, hanging out with my family, working by myself on the computer. But it's a necessity of the industry. To do better, you need to put yourself out there. Let people get to know you. Break out of your comfort zone, even if it's just a tiny, tiny little bit at a time. Yeah, just small, gradual increments, and you will slowly improve. If you don't believe me, go to my YouTube channel and look up some of the first videos I ever published back in 2010, 2011, even probably 2012 or something like that. It's night and day difference. I'll even go to say that they're not very good. I was pretty horrible. Every single sentence, maybe even between every other word, I would say for example. So you can go from being the worst at something to being maybe not the best at it, but you can be good enough, and that's really all that matters. Being good enough to believe in yourself, to put yourself out there is what stops most people from becoming successful as an internet marketer. So I truly hope that I have been able to pass along something of value to you today that I picked up over this past weekend at the Warrior event, whether you are an Amazon affiliate or whether your goals might be to do something completely different than that. Ultimately, everything that I was talking to you about today, it's really the core essentials of almost any kind of internet marketing. And I've used many of these tactics myself in a number of different of my online businesses, and fully recommend for you to try and incorporate the same type of stuff into yours. Hopefully you're bursting ideas at the moment of things that you can go and apply to your business, different ways that you could go about growing it or just simply making it better. Now, for anybody that does have any questions for me, whether it's about anything that I have taught them tonight, or if they just have a general question about maybe attending one of these marketing conferences, or how do you go about getting a speaking spot at one of these conferences or something of that nature, I don't mind answering anything related to my training class or even these networking events. Thank you, Paul, for what you mentioned earlier. You were asking about what mic I use. I kind of stopped in the class to mention that, the Sennheiser Office Runner, and you mentioned I sound very clear to you. So thanks for mentioning that. It's, not something that most people bring to my attention or even point out. So it's nice to hear that. It's not a cheap headset. It's 400 bucks or something on Amazon. Sometimes they have it on sale for maybe 300 or something, but um, it's good for noise canceling. It's meant to be used in like a noisy office environment, and ultimately with working at home and having a family and 3 kids especially, even one of them is quite young. I don't want like a random scream or something to come across in one of my live training classes, and so certain things like good audio quality can go a long way with the quality of your videos. That again is part of, I mentioned, if you were to go back to one of my early videos that I did, how it's not very good, that was one of the things about them that made them not good. You could hear everything. If I bumped my arm into the table, you'd hear that. It'd be a really loud thud. If I started typing on my keyboard, you'd hear tappity tappity tap the whole time. So, just something as simple as audio, even though it's easy to overlook when you're first getting started, it's important in the long run, and makes a big difference to the quality of your end product. Yeah, absolutely, Paul. Paul says he has difficulties hearing, so good quality sound helps a lot, and definitely helps him. And I'm sure even people that don't have hearing difficulties would appreciate the same type of thing. So thank you for mentioning that, and I'm sure others will be able to also appreciate knowing what I personally use for something like the videos and the webinars that I do. Oh, one final thing worth mentioning, since if somebody were to go and take up my recommendation and say, okay, I want to get what Ryan uses, I want to get the Sennheiser Office Runner. There's one tiny little thing to get with it. It'll cost you like an extra dollar or two. It's a little microphone boom. You can even get these if you have like an Xbox, for example. It comes with a really cheap headset with a microphone on it. It's got a little black fuzzy thing that slides over the end of the headset part that you speak into. That's the microphone boom. You need one of those, even with this really expensive headset. And unfortunately, it doesn't come with one. That's really my only complaint about it. But they're super cheap. They cost like $1 or $2, and you can even get them off of Amazon as well. Thank you, Rhonda. I'm glad you enjoyed today's class. Yeah, I did network with some of the presenters. Whether or not I end up making JV, like, partnering with some of these people or them being an affiliate for me or I promote their products for them or something like that. While a lot of marketers do go to these events for those types of purposes, and I even still do that, I have realistic expectations about it. For example, I mentioned having, being known kind of for one thing. Usually, if a marketer is known for doing A and another marketer is known for doing B, and they create products that teach people or help you do A and B, their customers may not mix very well. And so, for example, a product that I would release, one of the speakers at the event, unless their customers were also into, say, Amazon affiliate stuff, they likely wouldn't be interested in it. So sometimes we'll speak to various people just because I really like their message. I like the things that they have to say. I want to get to know a little bit more about them. And other times, I'll talk with people to, for mutual interest because they are somebody that does something related to what I do. So just as an example, at this current Warrior event, there really were not any of the presenters um, that were really people that I could, be like an affiliate for, or they could be an affiliate for me for the products that I release. But there were other people at the event um, that could do that type of thing. I've met, just off the top of my head, at past marketing events, I've met people in the Amazon affiliate space like Igor Bourbon, Norma Rickman, Jeff Hampton, Mike McKay, um, Gaz Cooper. This time around, I met Reed Florine and Dan Brock. I'd actually promoted some stuff and vice versa for Dan Brock over the years, but we had never met in person. And so sometimes going to these conferences, you get to kind of solidify a friendship or a relationship that may have started online. So these people that, oh, I've been talking to this guy for years online, and yet you may never talk on the phone, or you may never actually meet each other in person, and then you run into them at one of these events, and you already have that foundation to kind of grow upon, and yeah, it becomes a lot more likely for those types of marketers to heavily support each other in the future um, from those types of meetups. So yeah, it's super, super valuable if you have things like that your own marketing business could benefit from. There are absolutely tons of partnerships and deals and different JV ventures and things like that start up at these things all the time. Some of the most successful and profitable product creators in recent history had no marketing experience whatsoever, had never launched a product before. A great example of this is Andrew Darius, the creator of Explaindio. He released that back in November of 2014. I remember because I was promoting it while I was on the MasterChef cruise. And before he had released that product in that launch that ended up becoming one of the top earning launches on JVZoo of all time, made a couple $1 million in 1 week on JVZoo. That guy was pretty much a nobody. Nobody knew who he was. He had never really released a product before, except Explaindio. One other time he had tried to release earlier that same year by himself, and it sold 25 copies. And it later went on to sell 20, 30,000 plus copies or something like that. The difference was he picked up a partnership at one of these events. He actually went to, I believe it was Marketing Mayhem. It's the JVZoo networking event, and met up with Todd Gross, partnered up with him. Todd Gross essentially launched that Explaindio product for him, or got him all the connections, the affiliates to do it. And voila, all of a sudden you take a guy who nobody knew before and you just project him into a multi-million-dollar a year business. It seriously happens that fast sometimes for some people with the right connections, being able to meet the right people. But ultimately, it's kind of taking yourself out of your comfort zone, and even going to an event like that even gives you the possibility. And obviously having things lined up, like obviously somebody without a product would have a hard time going and striking up some kind of lucrative partnership like that, without anything else backing them up. But, you prepare, you put yourself in the right situation, meet the right people, and yeah, a lot of great stuff really does happen at these events, in addition to all the knowledge that's being passed around and shared. Let's see. Joe, thank you very much. I appreciate your comments. Glad you enjoyed it. Joan, thank you as well. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and glad you appreciated, the information, especially, if you can't attend. You mentioned like time or distance, just being able to go to an event like this being hard to do. So more than happy to help. I hope I was able to pass along something valuable and useful to you. Paul is asking, will I have a list of links of some of the sites I mentioned? I think I could do that. I may not necessarily have the links, but what I can do is I have notes that I wrote and took down, and especially for my my class here, the things that I've been teaching, just some of the basic, not a script of what I would be talking about, just the basic concepts that I wanted to go over with you guys. And for a lot of the sites and the apps and things like that that I had mentioned along the way, it definitely would contain, that information, so you could get the exact name of the app and be able to go and search for it or something. So yeah, I'm sitting over here on my other screen trying to get this hooked up for you at the moment. I'm going to load up as part of this webinar here. Never mind, it doesn't like my file. It doesn't want me to do a text file for some reason. Give me one more second. I am going to be, as part of the webinar later this evening, you'll get an email, an automated email from the webinar system that will direct you to a page on my website that'll have a video recording from this class. And on that particular page, I will make sure to include a link to my notes. And I'm setting this up for you guys right now, so I can go ahead and pass that link along to you now. But it will also be along with the recording later on. So in case you don't get that at the moment, or for people that may have already left for tonight, for example, they will still be able to find that. So here you go. Here are my notes from tonight's class. And a lot of the things that may not have been directly shown in the slides that I was talking about, different apps or sites or things that I recommend, a lot of that stuff will be listed in there. The one person that there's not notes on in that is Omar Martin. I didn't really have a ton of stuff to say there. All that was kind of things in my head that I wanted to say about things that I, was picking up from his class. Thank you, Laura. I'm glad to see you out here for the class as always, and I'm especially happy to hear that you picked up a number of valuable tidbits and other pieces of information. Thank you as well, Paul. Glad you enjoyed it, and hope those notes will be useful for you. I did add that link into the chat box for you guys just in case you did not see that yet, and it will be also again posted up with the recording from this class. And just watch for the GoToWebinar email that'll be sent out. Should be later tonight, usually after midnight or something like that. And it'll direct you to a page with the recording from tonight's class along with those notes for you to have permanent access to. Okay, Linda. Yeah, definitely. Anything that was mentioned, especially at the end of the Clint Arthur section, all those different sites, they're all listed out there in the notes as well. Thank you, Peter. Hope you also enjoyed it, and yeah, I hope you're able to pick up some other parts you may have missed from watching the replay or even from the my own personal notes on it. Thank you, Lori. I appreciate your comments as well. Glad you found it useful, and also glad you appreciate my teaching style. Um, the the genuine teaching style, the kind of down-to-earth approach, I see a number of people talking about, how they appreciate my approach to the whole teaching thing. That's really what you want to strive for, but it should come naturally to you if you're talking about something that you truly enjoy and love and that you're passionate about and you genuinely want to help other people. Um, there's no faking required. You talk about the things that you love. You talk about the things that you know from your own personal experiences are going to help people to get to where they want to get to. And, part of that is about knowing your audience, about knowing the things that they want and what they're trying to achieve. Um, yeah, Peter, that's a good thing to mention. Peter said I talk to people rather than talking down to them. I did not mention it, but that was actually kind of an ironic part of E. Brian Rose's presentation that he talked about. He said that exact same thing almost. He said, don't talk down to people. You want to be their equals, the people that you're helping, the audience that you're trying to build. And then immediately after saying that, he proceeded to talk down to anybody in the audience that was under a specific age. I think he labeled 25 years old or something. He said they all kind of act like know-it-alls and can be rather rude and forceful. And somebody asks a simple question, they're just like, I learned that back in you know high school. Go Google it, dummy, and things like that. And I've found it kind of ironic and slightly amusing that he would say, hey, don't talk down to people, and then basically proceeded to talk down to probably half the people that were in the room by simply saying something like that. But that's part of, you know, the either love them or hate them type of perspective that a lot of people seem to have about that guy and a lot of celebrities for that matter. But yeah, definitely don't recommend trying to emulate that one. Um, you know, think about like your best friend. If they were interested in what it was that you were trying to teach them in your content, whether it's video or writing, really doesn't matter. How would you present it all to them? You definitely wouldn't talk down to them. You would treat them like an equal, give them, the honest, straightforward information. You definitely wouldn't try to like trick a friend or anything like that. And people appreciate that approach. They genuinely do. And I appreciate all of you for appreciating it. Thank you, Trevor. I appreciate all of your comments. Glad you have enjoyed it. And I was happy to share the experience. Honestly, as I put together this class more and more, from what I was learning this week, and I've obviously attended these events before in the past. I think I've done one previous class having to do with a warrior event that I attended maybe. Or maybe it was one of the Marketing Mayhem events that I went to. Anyways, this one though, I really felt like, there's a lot of purpose to this for anyone, no matter what kind of marketer they are. Maybe it's just from my own personal growth in the industry, and I can kind of step back and pick apart a strategy and see the value in it that could be applied elsewhere. But yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I was really happy to have so many of you have an interest in this and to sign up and to come out and participate in tonight's class. And I really appreciate it, and will indeed make a point to try to do this type of thing more often in the future for you guys. Essentially, every time I go out to a conference, I'll try to relay the key stuff to you guys too. Yeah, continuous learning. No matter how good you are, no matter how much you make or what kind of connections you have, you know, you can always grow more. You can always learn more, especially in internet marketing. You know, if I shut myself off from everything for even 2 years and don't keep up with any of the changes that are taking place in the market, you know, it can be like night and day, you know, coming out and figuring out what new is going on. You can just end up lost and fall behind. So yeah, it's good to keep up with constant information and stay on track of new strategies, try new things out. You know, not everything's going to work, just like not everyone will end up loving you. But it's finding the people that do love you, finding the things that do work, and just pursuing those that, you know, really sets apart the successful people from everyone else. As EBR put it, he said, there's 100 people in this room, for example. He said, ultimately, you know, if 96 of you hate me, but if 4 of you pull out your wallets and you know, buy a $5,000 coaching package with me or something, he's like, I'd be pretty content. I'd say I've done my job. And a lot of people will say, yeah, but 96 people hate you. But, you know, it doesn't matter because you get enough that do love you. That's really all you need to be able to build and grow a business. Get some percentage of every group of 100 people to like you and to continue want to follow you, and just keep putting yourself out in front of as many people as you can, and you can build it up to pretty much any level that you want to if you just keep putting in front of enough people. So well, I thank you all once again. I'll go ahead and make, I guess, the last call for questions if any of you have anything that you would like to ask still, or if you did ask something already and I missed it. If I have not addressed your question already, please feel free to tell me that I'm a slacker and point your question out to me, and I'll be more than happy to address that. Otherwise, in a minute or so, we'll go ahead and call it a night. And again, later this evening, you'll get an email from GoToWebinar with a link in it to get to the replay of this class, which you are welcome to rewatch to your heart's content. If for some reason you never see that email, don't ever get that link from GoToWebinar. Reach out to my support ticket system, RyanStevensonPlugins.com/support. If you happen to be on a free email account like Yahoo especially, you may not even be able to see a reply from my ticket system. If that's the case, email me, ryan@ryanstevensonmarketing.com, and I'll personally make sure I get that link to you. Thank you all once again for being a part of this class. And I thank you all for coming out tonight, especially everyone that had such kind things to say tonight. I really do appreciate it. You guys are honestly the reason why I continue to do this type of stuff after so many years. So I sincerely appreciate you as well. Hope you all have a great night. I look forward to getting a chance to talk to you all again in the near future. Good night, everyone.